Welcome to the Clarity Digital Pod. I'm your host, Al Sefati, and in this episode, we're diving into LinkedIn ad strategies with none other than AJ Wilcox, a renowned LinkedIn expert. We'll be discussing best practices to get the most out of your LinkedIn campaigns. Let's jump in.
All right. Hey, AJ, how you doing today?
Doing awesome. Thanks so much, Al. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, appreciate coming. I've been following you for some time. I think it was back in before the pandemic where, you and I talked, and I have been following you since. And I'm really happy that you accepted my invitation and joined us today.
Oh, absolutely. It's my honor.
Appreciate it. I know you, but if you don't mind introducing yourself for our audience, that would be great.
Yeah. So I fell in love with LinkedIn ads about 14 years ago. About just over 10 years ago, we just turned 10. I started an ad agency called B2linked.com. And we are exclusively a LinkedIn ads only ad agency. Since then, I've gotten to work with many of LinkedIn's largest spending accounts. We've grown our team a good bit. I run the LinkedIn Ads Show podcast, and we have a community called the LinkedIn Ads Fanatics. Courses, the whole deal. Just what you need to know about me. I'm absolutely in love with LinkedIn ads and sharing everything I know about them for free.
That's awesome. The fact that you're building a business around just one platform, and that's great. How's that working out from a business perspective?
10 years in, it's very stable. But if you would have asked me before I started the company, I would have told you oh, this is a test. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if I can support my family off of focusing just on one channel, but it's been great. And it's one of the better decisions I've made in my life.
And you do know your stuff. So that has a lot to do with your success too. Talking about LinkedIn ads, what's the state of union with LinkedIn ads these days? Is it still, obviously you're in business, so it's an effective platform. I've always thought it to be a very expensive channel, but I would like to hear your take on some of these comments. Is it still a viable investment for businesses, and how should business go about it?
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. LinkedIn ads have always been expensive, especially when you compare them to Meta ads. LinkedIn's on average 3 to 5 times more expensive than Meta. And immediately your question has to be okay, does it work? If they're charging us more, does it work? And what's beautiful about LinkedIn ads is they let us target by who someone is professionally. And LinkedIn knows more about all of us professionally than any other network. For example, we have a client who advertises really heavily on both Meta and LinkedIn. And we look at a cost per click on Meta, and it's a third or a fourth as much as LinkedIn. But then when we look at their sales team, how they're treating the leads, we find out that they are throwing out 90% Meta leads because they're not the right fit. They're not qualified. But with LinkedIn, we could make sure that everyone that we're targeting is qualified because LinkedIn just has such good targeting. So all of that to say, yes, LinkedIn ads are expensive, but they continue to get more expensive because marketers like you and I are going in, we're finding success, and it's easier to track our success with all of these new tools and developments that we have. And so LinkedIn ads is really heating, and I'm happy to be in this space.
Yeah, that's great. That's super awesome. I do agree that quality over quantity, especially in the B2B space. I know having about maybe 1/3 of our clients are in the B2B space, and we do run LinkedIn ads, we run search ads. And even compared to search, LinkedIn ads tend to have higher quality, depending on which B2B industry it is. I think more enterprise level companies I think LinkedIn ads at least for us, has been a lot better. What are your takes on that?
Oh, very much so. Yeah. What's so cool about Google ads or anything search is you're able to capture people by the keyword that they're typing. Mm-hmm. And if they happen to have a keyword where they're looking for exactly what it is you do, then you have really high conversion rates. You're capturing that demand, and it's great. But especially if you're in enterprise B2B, it's really difficult to separate out the keywords that someone's typing for a consumer product and for a less expensive product than they might be for enterprise. So with LinkedIn's targeting, we can make sure that we're only showing ads to people who work at a company with more than 1,000 or more than 5,000 employees. It really helps the enterprise side of things when we can make sure that everyone we're targeting is the exact right fit.
yeah, it's like a right decision maker as opposed to whoever that searches the keyword. That's 100%.
Exactly.
So what are some of the best practices? Obviously the targeting is one, but maybe you can talk a little bit about the creatives and landing page and stuff like that when it comes to like the advertising.
Yeah, very first best practices I would share if anyone's looking to get into it for the first time. Realize that the default options that LinkedIn puts in front of your face, you should usually do exactly the opposite of what they're suggesting. And I have my 4 things I know that are all pre-selected in a campaign, and I need to go and unselect them. The first is your geography. LinkedIn sets it to recent or permanent. You should flip that to just permanent because you only want to target the people whose profile says that they live in that area, not someone who's been there in the last 6 months, which is what recent.
Okay.
Then there's a little checkbox called audience expansion. And if you leave that checked, LinkedIn's able to take your targeting and then say, hey, we found some other tangentially related people over here and shove them into your audience, basically diluting your audience. We're already paying a premium to advertise on LinkedIn. You don't want that. The third option is down in placements, and it's an option called the LinkedIn Audience Network. And this is where LinkedIn will show your ads to your LinkedIn target off of LinkedIn, which sounds really cool, but we find a lot of really low quality traffic come from that we can't tell where and why it's coming. And so I recommend starting with just LinkedIn. And then finally, the last option is in your bidding and budgeting section, how you're paying for your traffic. LinkedIn will default you to a bidding method called maximum delivery bidding. And that is the most expensive way to pay for your traffic 90+% of the time. So I always click the little link that says show me more options. And then you choose manual CPC bid. That allows you to say, I'm willing to pay this much for a click, but not more. And that's the least expensive way to pay for your traffic.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do remember your tip on manual CPC. I've been doing that for a long time and I've been saving a bunch.
Yeah.
You really appreciate that. Yeah. So let's talk about the settings. What about creatives? What type of creatives are you seeing doing better? I think I'm personally, as a very busy professional, or very selective about the creatives that I respond to. If there's another status of, or what do you call it, state of SEO, state of this, and I usually just don't download it. But if I see a nice little video clip, and I've seen some of yours, and even a nice ebook that is talking about something really cool, I might download it. So from your experience, what are some of the good creatives you have seen that work, that convert?
Yeah. So I think before I answer this, I have to share what most advertisers are looking to do by advertising on LinkedIn. They want to get meetings set up with their sales team. But we both know that if we show an ad right to a cold audience and say, hey, talk to someone in sales, they're going to go, whoa. I'm not ready for that. I don't even know who you are. I don't trust you yet. And it feels creepy. It feels like an overreach. So we know that's where we want to get to. And so what we've figured out is the most efficient way to get someone to that is have that be the third thing we ever show them. So the first thing we show them is, I call this my stage 1. Cold audiences, we're showing them content that is just, it's really interesting. It's educational. It's a tip, a trick, strategy, something that's going to help them do their job better. And we're not asking for anything. Then stage 2, once they've interacted with stage 1, now we're showing them an ad that brings them down a little bit more deeply into engaging with us. This might be longer content like a webinar or an ebook or a guide or listen to a podcast episode, those kinds of things. And then anyone who interacts at that stage, now we're retargeting them at stage 3. And this is where we've really earned the right to ask them to hop on a call or check out a demo or something. So based off of where someone is in that 3-stage funnel, there are different ad formats that are appropriate. So for instance, stage 1, the kind of content I really like, you mentioned video. And in the last couple of years, LinkedIn gave us the ability to promote video posts from an individual. So you imagine you take a video ad and that shows as it's coming from your company. That's going to perform okay. We see video content doing well. But if it were to come from you personally or your CEO or an internal thought leader and you promote that, you're probably going to get the interactions for about half the cost. They perform really well. They call those thought leader ads.
I've seen one of those, and I think one of your ads, actually, I was like, How is he doing that? I thought maybe you have a company name under your name. So it was just because it was showing yours as promoted. It wasn't a company name. It was under your name, right? Is that? So that's what it was. Okay. Because it did. I'm like, how is he doing that? Did he create a new company name under his name? That's how I thought he did it, but no.
Yes. Back before Thought Leader Ads came out, that was the workaround. You'd create a company page under your name, and instead of a company logo, you'd put your picture, and then it looks like your ad's coming from a person, even though it's coming from a company. Yeah. But now that's done for us. We're able to now promote individuals' posts. It's a little bit limited, but it's possible.
That's a good trait. So that was, and I think my follow-up question with that would be, what are the nurturing tactics on our end outside of LinkedIn that you recommend marketers do when they get those leads? Do they, for example, the thought leadership stuff, do they get you to CRM and they get marketing automation emails going out, or do they? And I guess another question, my first question would have been that when you talk about engaging the ad, what are engagement? Liking it, replying to it? Maybe you can clarify that.
Yeah. So if I'm running a video ad, my favorite type of retargeting to do is to tell LinkedIn, hey, anyone who watches at least 50% of this video ad, let's retarget them and graduate them down to a stage 2. If they're in stage 2, graduate them to stage 3. And that's a great way to retarget. But if it's a single image ad, we can tell LinkedIn any sort of engagement someone has on this ad, graduate them. So if they hit like, or comment, or click on the link that you've given them in a post, those are all retargetable.
Okay.
And what's so cool about this kind of retargeting, we call this engagement retargeting. It happens all on LinkedIn when they're logged in. So LinkedIn doesn't have to worry about them having a cookie in their browser or anything like that we know is unreliable. LinkedIn just goes, oh, Al was logged in on this date at this time. He clicked on one of this company's ads. Now we're going to allow them to retarget him.
That's awesome. Yeah. We should definitely try that on our end. We're going to a couple of trade shows, and maybe this would be a custom strategy where we're already engaging with some of these attendees, and then they give us a list. When we retarget them, obviously we're like probably phase 3 now, right? Or do we start all the way on top of the funnel?
You can choose how this works. If you go to an event, let's say you get a list of the event attendees from the event, you could go and upload that list right into LinkedIn and then create a campaign targeting just them. So you might show an ad that just says, hey, do you remember us? We were at booth 1601 or something.
Yeah.
You could do that. Or you could say, when they've attended this event, I'm now going to feed them as an audience right into my normal stage 1. And then they're going to work through the stages 1, 2, and 3, just naturally as they engage with my ads. You really have a lot of control here.
Gotcha. Very cool. Let's talk about the type of companies that should be advertising LinkedIn. Is it pretty much all sort of companies, or is it just B2B companies? What are some of your recommendations?
It's the perfect question. What I've found is because of what we talked about early on, which is LinkedIn ads are expensive. On average, we're going to pay like $10 to $16 per click. And so if you can imagine paying $10 to $16 per click, and anyone who's going to become a customer is going to click at least 3 times, you start adding it up and you're like, ooh, okay, this could get expensive unless my lifetime value of my product or service is high. So the line in the sand I've drawn is if you have a lifetime value of over $10,000, then LinkedIn ads are a total no-brainer. Plenty of room there to pay for ad distribution for a few people to trickle out, and then you make your return on your investment. So whether that's B2B or B2C, it's mostly B2B because those are the kinds of companies who say, I want to target someone by who they are professionally. But there are plenty of B2C companies who are advertising on LinkedIn as well. And they could be in like high-end automotive. We know Mercedes and BMW are advertising on LinkedIn.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. Things like financial services. If you want to target someone who has a high net worth because you want them to invest, those kinds of things, technically B2C, you want to target by who they are professionally. Recruiting, if you're trying to hire someone, that's technically B2C, but LinkedIn's targeting works extremely well.
Very cool. That was really good. And I guess my question to you is that how do you integrate your organic and paid effort? So like you have this omni channel approach to LinkedIn advertising.
Yeah. What's so cool about LinkedIn ads is they've really built a silo. We get to just operate within it. And so I can make sure I've controlled that whole 3-stage funnel from actions that happen just within LinkedIn. But then the downside is we're losing all of those interactions outside that we could be making decisions based on. As you alluded to, there's a whole bunch of different things that we can do to play with other platforms and play with other channels. The first I would say is use LinkedIn's website visits retargeting so that if you're driving traffic from Google, let's say, to your website, you can retarget that traffic on LinkedIn. And that's a great way of saying, hey, you found us on Google. Next time you're on LinkedIn, we're going to stay in front of you. There's also a lot that you can do. And you also alluded to this. There's a lot we can do organically as well. So if anyone becomes a lead to us, why not pass that person's contact information to someone on your sales team and have them go and send a connection request and interact with their posts as they see them posting and start a conversation that way. That's great.
That's great. Yeah.
We can also, if you bring a list to LinkedIn, let's say this is a list of all of the companies that we want to go after, our account-based marketing list, or it's a hit list from your sales team. These are the accounts they're most interested in. You can show ads to those people for a month or two and prime them, get them ready. By the time sales goes to reach out to them, they're a lot more likely to respond and say, yeah, that sounds good. Lots more you can do. Yeah. You can get them into your CRM. You can put them on a drip list like you talked about. Yeah. Tons you can do. But yeah, I think it depends on the individual use case.
Cool. Let me ask you a more specific question that has always been my challenge with LinkedIn. I think when people are on LinkedIn, for some reason, they don't want to leave LinkedIn. And I've noticed that getting ads on the lead gen form is a lot easier in terms of conversions than if you were to send them to your website and they convert over it. Ideally, as a marketer, I like them to go to my website because of the experience. They're going to see my form, my logo, all that stuff. I have very limited space in LinkedIn lead form. What are your takes on that? Do you do both? Do you do A/B testing type of thing? What are some of your recommendations on how to go about it?
Yeah, I like A/B testing this because for the exact reasons you mentioned, if we use LinkedIn's lead gen forms, they convert at a really high rate, but that traffic never hits our website. And I know that traffic is on my website is worth more to me than traffic that just was on LinkedIn and then they went about their. If you can measure this side by side, let's say one campaign, you're using a lead gen form, capturing them that way. And then another, you're sending them to the landing page on your website with a form there. If your cost per form fill is by using LinkedIn's lead gen form, then you might wonder, oh, maybe this is worthwhile to just keep using this because I'm getting twice as many names in the database. But if you continue following up with those and you notice them prospects either not responding, or if they do respond, they say things like, who are you guys again? Like, when did we connect? I can't remember. That might be a clue that they need to be on your website to really get to know you a bit and for it to make a strong impression. And so in that case, I might be willing to say, hey, I'll pay twice as much for a form fill that occurs on my website. The other thing is that most of the time when we have someone fill out a form, it's because we want them to get on a call with someone in sales. And LinkedIn's lead gen forms, they don't integrate with a calendar solution. And so you can get them very easily to tell you who they are, but then you have to follow up again and say, hey, get on so-and-so's calendar, which it's one more step versus on my landing page, built right into the form, I can have a calendar integration there. So what I really care about is a cost per meeting held. And if I find that my cost per meeting is lower using my landing page forms as opposed to LinkedIn's, then I'm going to say, I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah. So basically you look at the cost per qualified lead, not just cost per lead. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's super awesome. That's a really good feedback. And I agree with you. When people are coming to your website, the intent is a little bit strong. They're willing to leave whatever they were doing on LinkedIn, and that lead may be more worthwhile. I know LinkedIn has different type of settings and targetings. What are some of the ones that I know you don't recommend? What are some of the ones you do recommend? Like, for example, I forget what it's called when you send a sponsored message to Yeah. We can talk about that a little bit. Like what from your experience, which one are better, which one are you don't recommend, or maybe it has different, they all have different use cases.
So there's 3 different places that you can show an ad on LinkedIn. The first one is in the news feed. And since the news feed is the default experience, whether you're on desktop or mobile, that's the place where someone is going to have the most opportunities to see. So I love the news feed. Then you have over in the right rail, it's only on desktop, 2 different ad formats. One's called text ads and one's dynamic ads. And I don't recommend them for the most part. When you've really got everything humming in the news feed, that's when I would say, okay, maybe let's try out some stuff over here on the right rail. But then in the third one, this is in your messaging box. So LinkedIn has an ad format that they call sponsored messaging, and it has 2 variants. One is conversation ads. That's the one that I recommend everyone use. The other one's a little simpler. It's called message ads. But the reason why you should use conversation ads is they are indistinguishable from a message ad if you only add one call to action. So you might as well use the one that can have multiple calls to action or one. And the kicker here is that any sort of interactions in a conversation ad, you can retarget on LinkedIn, but you can't with message ads. So then the question becomes, okay, how are these priced in comparison to the newsfeed clicks? In the newsfeed, I can say, hey, I'm only willing to pay $7 when someone clicks on the link to go to my landing page. But with these messaging types of ads, you can't do that. You pay on a per send basis. And you're going to pay like 35 to 80 cents per person you send to. And then a good open rate would be 55%. So 55% of the people you send it to open it. And then a good click-through rate would be anything over about 5%. So you do that math and you're like, wow, based on averages, you could be paying $25 to $50 per click, which seems insane. So I don't recommend those for the top of the funnel for cold audiences because very few people open and then click. But warm audiences, especially your stage 3, people who've interacted with you at least twice, this is where I love conversation ads because they open at a much higher rate because they know who you are. And then they click at a much higher rate and convert at a higher rate because they like and they trust you. So I love using that one as in my bottom of funnel, what I call my stage 3.
Stage 3. Okay. Bottom. That's exactly what I was going to ask for. So those would be the lower funnel type of ads. Yeah. And that makes sense because they've already seen your ads, they've interacted with it, and they're less likely to get annoyed. And what does those ads go on your behalf or on your company's behalf?
Most ads will come on these ones, the ones that come as a message, they come as an individual. You get to choose who that individual is.
Okay.
If you want it to come from your company, that's like a special thing. You have to go through LinkedIn support and ask, hey, can you add my company as a sender? The reason they do that is because when it comes from a company, people don't respond to it the same way as from an individual. So my recommendation is along with theirs, have it come from an individual.
Got it. Cool. We'll definitely try that. I've been wanting to play around with that just for myself. That's one type of ad we haven't run yet for ourselves, for our clients. Let's just talk about a little bit more high level stuff. I personally, working with a lot of SaaS and B2B companies, I see sometimes friction between sales and marketing. They have access to LinkedIn Sales Navigator. They have access to just LinkedIn in general. They tend to come in and step on your toes. And I'm sure you've dealt with plenty of that just since you only do this for a living. What are some of your recommendations how to go about it, how you can get the teams aligned, how they can work together better and meet in common goals?
Yes, such an important question. Answering this today, the answer is going to be different than it will be in the future. And that's because LinkedIn has this in alpha right now. So I don't know if this is going to be out in like weeks or months or even years. I hope it's not years. They're building an integration between LinkedIn Sales Navigator and LinkedIn Ads. So your sales team is going to be able to go and tag people, add them to lists, and then push those right into LinkedIn's campaign manager and let you be able to target those members with ads of your choosing. I think this is brilliant. This is exactly the way that we want. Because now you can go and talk to your sales team and come up with a strategy of the people you tag and put in this list. How do I treat that? Do I treat them as top of funnel and I'm just going to be trying to get their attention and give them value? Or Are they bottom of the funnel? These are deals that you're working right now, and we want to target them plus their, the rest of their buyers committee with ads that just reinforce who we are as a company so that they're much more likely to move the contract forward. That's going to be a great way for these departments to really hold hands and work together. I mentioned it earlier. One of the best ways you can do this now is go to your sales team, find out who it is they're trying to go after. And you say, hey, give me these lists. I'm going to go upload these to LinkedIn and I'm going to show ads to them, warm them up so that they're more likely to respond when you reach out. And you better believe they appreciate that if you're raising the quality of their leads, their traffic, and their outreach.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other strategies we could talk about. Those are the big ones I think are really going to help you integrate well with your sales team.
Yeah. I personally don't drink, but I've noticed buying salespeople drinks, it helps. They get nicer too.
Yeah. I like that. And buy them a pint. I'm also not a drinker, but so I wouldn't even know what to buy them.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a gift.
Yeah, totally. Another high level question. It's a buzzword right now. I just came back from a B2B conference called B2B Marketing Exchange. It was pretty good, but AI all over the place. Okay. We know what AI is doing to many aspects of marketing. What is it specifically doing to LinkedIn? What AI tools are out there that can help you do better work? Or is LinkedIn as a product roadmap to add more AI features? What are some of your takes on that?
Yeah, so LinkedIn's owned by Microsoft. And as we know, Microsoft owns a really large stake in OpenAI or ChatGPT. And so immediately we've noticed LinkedIn starting to put AI features into about everything that we're doing. The big ones are when you go to create an ad now, LinkedIn's going to, like when you start to write ad text, LinkedIn will say, hey, do you want AI to come up with some ideas for you? And that sounds like a great idea. So that's a really good use of AI. Another one is in the future, I don't think we have this yet. And I forget the Microsoft product name, but it's basically the equivalent of DALL-E, the image generator in ChatGPT. Microsoft has a version of that we're going to be able to use to create visuals for our ads. That's going to be built right into LinkedIn's campaign manager. There's another one that is, you'll probably get annoyed by it every time you log into LinkedIn, into the ads platform. It's going to annoy you and say, hey, do you want to try this new accelerate feature? And
I was going to ask you about that. I forgot what it was called. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it is. You give it a landing page of your website and then it goes, inspects that landing page and then comes back and says, based off of this landing page, here's who we think you should target. And it builds your targeting for you. Here's what we think the ads should look like. Here's what the ads should say. Do you want us to build all this for you? And then you can just launch.
Yeah.
I haven't used this feature and I don't think I'm going to, not because I'm an ad agency and it's taking my job, but I wouldn't mind if it took my job. It just, all of these things, when it takes control away from us, it lessens my ability to make sure I'm hitting exactly the right target audience. So I might suggest, like, let it generate some ideas for you that you then go and adjust your targeting and create some ads from. But my recommendation would be don't use full on AI to build and run the campaign for you.
Very cool. No, that's great advice. That's the type of advice I give to pretty much everybody when it comes to Google ads or other type of advertising. Just utilize AI by you being a driver's seat. Don't let them take the whole full control. And because especially on LinkedIn, it's going to be pricey and want to have more control. It makes 100% sense.
And I want to learn from it. Whatever I run on LinkedIn, I want that to teach me something that I can then use to apply to all of my marketing, not just be like, oh, I tried out this thing and it didn't work. And I don't know what to do because of it.
Yeah, very cool. So another challenge that I've had working with when we had onboarding clients, I've noticed it to be a lot easier to audit, let's say their competitors, SEO and SEM, based on all the available tools we have like SEMrush, Ahrefs. But when it comes to social media, there are some tools out there, but not, especially in particular for LinkedIn, they're more like meta focused. Is there a good audit and reporting tool out there for LinkedIn, or do you just basically LinkedIn is ground zero?
It's LinkedIn is ground zero right now. One way that you can spy on the ads that your competitors are running through what LinkedIn calls their LinkedIn ad library. So if you just go and Google search that, you'll type in the name of your competitor and it'll show you all the ads that your competitors have run in the last 6 months. So that's a great way. As for an automated solution that just spits you out a report, we're actually working on something like that internally, but it's not going to be done anytime super soon. So I hate to say anything about it, but I'm not aware of any other tools out there that make this really easy yet.
I'm not either. So I thought I'd ask you before. There may be some. Yeah, for some reason, these tools that are popping out, they're more like TikTok, Meta, Facebook, they're very B2C, or maybe just because LinkedIn is more of a closed environment, there's less APIs for it. So that was really good. You did mention about where LinkedIn is going in general. If big companies are struggling to set up, especially with the economy these days, I've noticed that marketing budgets are shrinking. And if I get into the position where, hey, I only have $5,000 a month, do you want to spend it on LinkedIn versus Google? I would very much love to come up with some solid data rather than just, okay, I know LinkedIn is going to have better quality. How would I come up with that type of data? Because again, back to my question that I asked earlier, when it comes to search, we have keyword research volume. We can do some estimation. I think how would you go about that when you get challenged with that type of limitation?
Yeah, I think the cheapest ads that you can run on LinkedIn there is text ads that run over in the right-hand rail that you can pay all the way down to $2 per click. And those are clicks to a landing page. So sounds pretty good. I don't find them to be very high performance for generating a quantity of leads. It may actually be hard to spend any sort of meaningful budget. I love pairing those with other ads that they play off each other and help surround the user a little bit better. The one I would suggest trying is these thought leader ads, where you create a post on your personal LinkedIn. And these can be 3 different kinds. They can be a video, they can be a single image, or text only. And you can bid all the way down to $1 per click. Some people are even getting less. And that's an amount per engagement. And there's lots of different ways you can engage. So I don't know if it's going to get you traffic for $1.50 per website click, or if it's going to be $8 or $9, just depending. But I think that's a great place to start, because we as humans, we make such a good personal connection with individuals, whereas a company, we don't make the same level of connection. So starting out with that, knowing that you can retarget anyone who's interacted with those in any way with a kind of follow-up offer, it's a great place to start on low budget.
I agree. Very cool. I think I'm running out of topics. Is there anything important I left out for our conversation that you would want to bring?
I think we hit really good stuff. I'm trying to think if there's any more. We could talk about tools and.
Oh yeah, please.
Especially attribution methods, because
reporting. So what's big on LinkedIn roadmap right now? What are some of the cool features and tools that we're going to see from it?
They're doing a lot right now with measurement, specifically measurement and attribution. Like we talked about at the top of the episode, LinkedIn ads are expensive. And when we are bringing budgets together to spend them on a more premium service, what it means is we're going to want better reporting, better feedback about what's working and what's not. LinkedIn's heard it loud and clear. They've come out even in just the last year with a whole suite of measurement tools. So we have the conversions API, very similar to what you might have already set up on Google Ads and Meta Ads. They also have one called the Revenue Attribution Report, where when you have a closed deal happen in your CRM, lets LinkedIn know, and then LinkedIn can tell you, hey, here's how we contributed to that deal. 4 people saw and clicked on your ads, and you spent about this much money on them to drive those. So it's a much better way for LinkedIn to show you, like, hey, you invested this much. Here's the actual effect that it had. And I think this is a brilliant way to go. LinkedIn's not stopping. There's going to be more and more of these tools and advancements to help us know the money we're spending is being well spent.
Very cool. Another conversation that came up earlier with my social media expert, and she's more on a Facebook Meta side, and we were trying to run a campaign together for our agency. She said, oh my God, like, why is LinkedIn take so long for them to approve your ad? So How do we expedite that? Is it just, we just got to wait or plan for it? Or is there a way you can expedite that?
It's gotten a lot better in the last few years. It used to be that every ad was like 1 to 6 hours for them to approve it. Now it's down to where most ads that we launch are automatically approved. Like an AI bot will look at it just to see if there's anything wrong, and everything will go live within seconds, with maybe a few held back for human review that might take hours.
Got it.
So I think it's getting a lot better. But if you ever have a problem with your ads getting disapproved, it's cryptic the way that they send you a message that's, oh, we denied this ad because of this long list of possible things it could have done wrong.
Yeah. So which one is it?
Exactly. There is a way to appeal from there. If you're like, yeah, you guys got it wrong, does not break any of those rules, then that goes in a queue where a human looks at it.
Got it. And as your campaign ramps up, does it like the approval process speeds up? Is that from your experience?
I think so. The more they trust your account because you have history of spend, chances are more gets auto approved. Got it.
So you could say it's necessary for you to always have some sort of campaign running and don't just pause and keep going again, even if it is something you would recommend as a professional.
It's hard to say because there are great business purposes to fully pause things. And I wouldn't say, oh, you have to force yourself to keep spending even when there's not a good reason. So it's okay to pause and not be running ads. LinkedIn does say, and we've found this to be the case, that anytime that you pause something, when you turn it back on, it goes back into some form of a learning phase where performance may not be as great.
Yeah.
So it's worth taking into account that, oh, if I pause it, when I turn it back on, I might take a little bit of a hit for a couple days. I think it depends on the business reason.
Cool. I guess my last question would be reporting. How do you report? What is a good report? What's a good LinkedIn ads report? Is that the one that LinkedIn provides? And how do you present it to clients, or do you integrate it with another tool like Looker Studio or Tableau or something like that? How does your agency go about it? Or do you have your own dashboard?
We've tried about everything and haven't quite settled. There is a solution called rose.com that it's almost like a Google Sheet, and they have an integration with LinkedIn where they'll pull data right into there's a template for LinkedIn ads that was created by a LinkedIn ads expert. So totally worth looking at that. And that's very inexpensive to have all of your data flow into something like Google Sheets where you have your own custom formulas and you can show charts based off of them. So that's a cool way. Another way would be something like supermetrics.com, where I know if you've done any sort of advertising elsewhere, Supermetrics is always in the conversation. They can push your data right into a Looker dashboard or into Google Sheets themselves. There are other solutions out there. There's one called linklow.com, and you can create a custom report. There's one called Shirafune that can create a custom report for you. So we're starting to get a lot more tools in the LinkedIn ads universe, which I'm really excited about. As for what I do, I've tested a little bit of everything, and we ended up building a connection to LinkedIn's API to bring all of our ad data into a database. And then we push that database into an Excel sheet when we need it to basically run things in pivot tables. It's not pretty, but it's very functional. I want to invest in something that's a little prettier over time, but that's working great for us right now.
Very cool. I guess that's all the questions I have for LinkedIn ads. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you some professional and personal questions.
Please.
Let's talk about your business some more. What is your website URL again? What scope of work do you guys provide for your clients? And what would clients expect? And if they were to contact you, what would be the first step?
So our website is b2linked.com. It's the letter B, the number 2, and then the word linked. Most of what we do, I'd say 95% of what we do is we are the ad agency that helps clients run their LinkedIn. So we take it over, make the very most of their budget, and get the very best performance out of it. We also have just individual consulting and training where I'll help train teams on how to take things in-house. And then we also have a private community called the LinkedIn Ads Fanatics community. And
I didn't know that. I should get into it.
It's cool. It's $79 a month, gets you access to all 4 of our courses and the whole community of people who are also learning, and you're sharing what you know and they're sharing what they're learning. It's really cool. We have an option there to hop on weekly group calls too, like an upsell option. So yeah, from a services perspective, that's the whole range of what we offer. No matter what level of budget you have for LinkedIn ads, I want something that's going to help you.
Yeah. Cool. And I know you do a lot of podcasting, but are you speaking at any conferences and events this year?
Yes. Next month, I'm speaking in the UK at an event called Uplift Live 25. It's a LinkedIn only conference. I'm also speaking at Social Media Marketing World, Inbound in...
That's where I met you, Inbound. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So Inbound again this year. There's a whole bunch that I oftentimes speak at. I haven't been officially invited, but I think like the Marketing Profs B2B Forum, I'll probably be speaking Content Marketing World. So yeah, I love this stuff. Anywhere in the world I can go and speak, I'd love to.
That's super awesome. Let's switch it to a little bit more personal questions. When you're not doing LinkedIn ads or working, what are you doing?
I have 5 kids, so that
a lot. God bless.
I have 4 of my own and then a stepdaughter. We're doing this blended family situation. I just got remarried about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, congratulations.
So yeah, it keeps us really busy, but I love off-roading. In the state of Utah, where there's 3 or 4 different directions I could drive, and 40 minutes later, I'm in pure desert with dunes, and I like to go off-roading and side-by-sides, dirt bikes, that kind of thing.
It's such a Utah thing. I have a couple of good friends that live in Utah. I follow them on Instagram, and they're always like mountain biking, off-roading, hiking. It's such a, and sometimes I envy it because Southern California, we have the beach, but if you want to get to the mountains, you got to drive a bit.
It's true. We've done a lot of cool outdoor stuff, but all of us have to travel to get to the beach. So that's a trade-off.
Yeah, that's a trade-off. Yeah. And I guess the last question would be any books or movies or TV shows that you've recently read or watched that you would recommend?
My wife and I on Netflix, we just watched Man on the Inside. It's with Ted Danson, and it became one of our favorite shows. It's just a series of 8 episodes. It's a comedy. We cried a lot of the way through it. It really hits close to home, talking about aging relatives, and really it's aging relatives. It's based in an old folks home. So if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend. It's funny and it's heartfelt.
I will. My parents are both getting old, and I've been thinking about what I'm going to do when one of them passes away. So I think I want my heart to open up to be more caring.
Yes. And that's what this show will do. You will finish, and then you'll want to immediately call your parents and ask them how they're doing.
Yeah.
More time.
Look, I know you're busy. I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to be on this podcast. I really appreciate it. And you definitely know yourself. Thank you so much. You have any questions for me?
I don't think so. Just Thank you so much for having me on. And if there's any way I can be a resource, shoot me a note. Always happy to help in any way I can.
Will do. Thank you so much. You have yourself a great day, and we'll chat later.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Al.